Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Land of Fantasy series. I'm Jack the Panda and this is an interesting spot for me to be starting an episode, don't you think? I'm actually in the clearing that I do most of my work. The place that I built up with a few friends right at the start before I even started this series. I only started this series when I started building up this area here, so this is the house, the enchanting and head kind of room here, the big giant mushroom, the villager area over there, the nether portal, and the beehive and all sorts of weird things that I do in the middle over there. And of course a kind of little fancy nether portal tower over there as well. But this is a lot of work that I did with my friends earlier on before they kind of trailed off. Right, but as it is episode 10 of the series, I thought this would be a pretty good spot to do like a little recap tour. So if anyone's just joining the series now, then you can kind of jump in at this point here and I'll quickly recap everything we built so far, everything I'm planning on building, and all the small bits of detail work that I'm planning on doing this episode, because I kind of just want to make sure everything is just finishing off, because we're doing a lot of progress and it's almost time to start on the big project of this area, which I'm sure you all can guess, but I will reveal it at the end of the tour. So the tour starts here in this little pathway that I built up from the clearing just by the mushroom, with these lovely little trees that I never got round to customizing like I did everywhere else, and this small little campfire which is hiding something, but we'll come back to that later. So you head up this little pathway here underneath the little archway and you get to your first crossroads. Woodman's Clearing up the bridge, or Crimson Underpath down the staircase. So if we're going to head down here, we'll find ourselves at the Crimson Underpath, and this is like the Crimson Canyon route along. So this is the Crimson Canyon here. It's kind of this ravine filled with these corrupt blocks, and the whole idea is that these kind of red crimson nylium blocks are crawling their way up. They're trying to reach the top. They want to corrupt the clearings and the districts above here. They want to get their hands. It's kind of spreading. But luckily it's all under control-ish at the moment. But this is just this lovely little custom terrain that I've built up. I really love it. I think it adds loads to the buildings around the place, because it kind of adds this story element of the corruption spreading up. But if we continue along here, we'll find ourselves a lovely little tunnel that I built up earlier on in the series. Little small thing here. And another little signpost here which says Raincrypt Rest. Sorry, that's hard to say. And a little up arrow for the castle market. And this bridge here is the one leading to the Raincrypt Rest. It's the little idea I've got for what's going inside here. Not sold on it yet, 100%, the name or the idea. But I've just got it there to remind myself. And of course the little castle market arrow is the place that I built up recently up here, where that bridge leads to. And the idea is to have this pathway just kind of go up and along the side of this cliff face and join up with that bridge at the castle market, which you can kind of see the edge of right up there. But this area has been slightly neglected, mind you. We've kind of got a bit of detail missing on these cliff faces, if you couldn't tell. So it's definitely an area that I need to do a bit more love to coming up, especially considering that, this area along the sides all been done, but this cliff definitely is probably the biggest issue with the whole build at the moment, I would say. If I had to point out one thing that needs doing the most, it's that cliff face. So maybe I'll get around to doing that this episode, who knows. Right, then, coming up along here, we've got the very first bridge I built up, leading up to the Woodman's Clearing. It's kind of in the center of everything at the moment, which I quite like. And you kind of get these lovely views through the small trees that we're cutting down here. Kind of get the smithing district over there. You can kind of see parts of the market through the trees. And of course, this place is just detailed. Love it to bits. All sorts of, love the crane. It's beautiful. Definitely one of my prouder moments, detailing this whole area up. And it just adds a bit of story, you know. This is where they're getting all their wood from. A little lumber project they've got going on here. Right, heading back the other way. We've got more signposts leading you back down to the Crimson Underpath, or to where we're going, the Smithing District. And there's a couple of people that you might be thinking, hey, where do these come from? Well, I will tell you about these guys in a bit when I'm done with the tour as well. So here we have the Innkeepers House. And this is where I've been doing most of my storage work. I've been putting all my heads up on the wall, all my items that I'm using to build this whole area up in these chests here. And it's also where I've been sleeping, which actually is a good time. I think it's just hit night time. So let's have a little rest, and then we can continue on with the tour. Right, so heading back down, we've got the Iron Price Tavern that we're going to be going to next. Oh, and the notice board, I almost forgot. Here's the notice board, keeping you up to date, all the locals on the latest news, I guess. All sorts of signs and bits like that. Then you got the Iron Price Tavern here, complete with all sorts of people inside. These two having the same meal they've been eating for the last couple of weeks. I guess they don't really like it that much because they're not finishing it up. And this lovely little high-ceilinged Gothic tavern. I really like it. A little fireplace and the barkeep here. And a new citizen having a bottle of honey, the drink of choice of the pillagers. And through here we have, first of all we have a map. Ooh, I haven't updated this map for the docks yet. We'll get onto that later though. And down here we have a little secret that was behind the campfire that I mentioned earlier on, which is of course the Underground Lair. Unbeknownst to the people of the Smithing District, this is where all their iron comes from. This little iron farm that I built up last episode, and if you watched last episode you're probably wondering where the other one went. Well, there is some good news here at least. It turns out that this iron farm is built just close enough to spawn chunks being just through in the middle of this clearing here. I basically spawned in this clearing and thought, wow, this place is awesome. You got mountains here, you got the ocean right out there. I'm going to build right here, I'm not going to move. So, luckily for me, that means the iron farm on this side is built in spawn chunks, which is why I feel it never broke, because the other one kept breaking and was way too high maintenance. But this one being in spawn chunks, it creates way too much iron. I never need this much iron ever. So I thought, I'll just get rid of the other one. It's kind of ugly, too much maintenance, and I've kind of turned it into a temporary villager breeder. I'm kind of using it manually, and also this is where I keep all my dogs for the guards. So I kind of breed them up here and then bring them up, which I never pointed out actually in the tour. We do have local guards around the place. Let's see, there's one in the Smithing District over here. And this is why, because I mean, the reason why the armour stands are only just being added in now is because I always thought it'd be weird if we had armour stand people and real pillager people in the same place, right? 'Cause, I mean, these guys are obviously inanimate, they're just statues. This guy is an actual pillager, even though he is stuck on the honey, you know, and kind of tactically hidden in there. But this is one of the local guards. And, you know, I don't think it looks that bad, actually, so I'm quite happy with it. And actually, over here, as I've brought it up now, we have this chest, which is what I'm going to be doing after I've done the tour, which is filled with armor stands, and pillager heads from a raid that I did recently. I did a bit of a raid, I got loads of emeralds, I used the Hero of the Village buff to buy a whole bunch of name tags, and I actually named quite a lot of the things that people were saying, hey, these guys need names, the horses need names, the dogs need names, the llamas need names. And I thought, you know what, let's do a raid, let's get that Hero of the Village debuff. That's not a debuff, it's definitely a buff. And let's buy a whole ton of them. And then I got some leather workers from my new villager breeder, and these are the colours they gave me. Hot pink was the only boots they were giving me, so I guess all the pillagers around the place have to get hot pink boots, or we're going to have to use this little golden here to dye them down, or to remove the dye. And hello. We're getting a lot of stray cattails since I put this iron farm, and he looks a bit stuck there. Anyway, moving on with the tour. This is the smithing district here. We've got a couple of people over here. This guy's sharpening his sword on the grindstone. This guy over here is writing a bit of a ledger on the desk with his little quill. And this is the end of the smithing district, Tradesman's Bridge. A very impressive looking bridge if you're kind of over there, which is where I like to look at the cliffs from. And it crosses the Crimson Canyon, and it's nice and wide, so you can get the carts across here, which is why it's the Tradesman's Bridge. And you get this lovely view of the canyon on your way across. And then the Tradesman's Bridge leads you to the Restless Market. Restless Market, yes. Or this farming district if you go to the left. But we'll do the market first. Here we have the top stalls of the market. The wood stall from the woodcutter lumber mill just behind this place here. Just through those trees there. And we have the iron kind of one represented from the smithing district, where you get your armour repaired back here, smithing table, and you can buy all sorts of sets of armour. Top two stalls of the market, and you get this lovely little fountain, benches around the place that hang in baskets, and then this little shrine I built up just to add a bit of detail to the thing of General Atreus, and it gives the town a bit of backstory. The great defender of the First Rebellion. And I'm not set on specifics of the backstory here, but I know I kind of want there to be a rebellion of the uprising of these pillagers here. They've all turned their life on pillaging, and they kind of rebelled against the pillagers that you'll find at the outpost and in the raids. They're kind of a subset of them. They didn't want to continue such a life of evil that the normal pillagers have. And then continuing up here, you get some smaller market stalls. You got the one for archery. I won't go through them all. Weapons, tools, all stuff like this. Here's another guy that I added in just to test it all out. He's kind of picking up a pumpkin from the vegetable stall, having a good time there. Going through here, we have the rest of the stalls and another guard. And all the dogs are named. This is Padfoot. The one in the smithing district is Reuben, I believe. And then we got another bridge. I love my bridges, which is kind of why I thought a canyon would be such a cool thing to build around. Right, you build it around a canyon, you get excuses for bridges everywhere, and I'm very happy to build bridges everywhere. And look, you kind of get these levels. There's a bridge down there, there's a bridge up here. I really think this is a beautiful idea to build it around. Anyway, this is the castle market where I said this path would eventually lead up to. This path kind of is going to hook around this bit here, and the idea is that it kind of comes out somewhere here, wherever feels natural. And you are in the castle market, which is also kind of the end of the road for this pathway. I've kind of got these branching paths, and I'm building them up as I go along, and this is where this one ends. And this is actually where the big project is going to be, because this is the castle market, which means that over here is going to be the castle grounds, and then of course castle market, castle grounds, on top of the hill, castle, which is, I imagine, going to be one hell of a project. That's going to be definitely a trilogy of episodes at the least, so I am looking forward to that. But like I said, I want to make sure everything else is detailed up and complete before I start that. It will be the very end, the very final project, the little cherry on top. So heading back across this nice wide bridge here, you can head up this staircase, and this is an area I've got plans for this episode, if you haven't seen it already in the thumbnail or the title. But it was an idea I came up with surprisingly late into the project, considering it's a kind of gothic inspired build, but it's definitely something that's going to look very cool standing right here. But if you head back down here, let's go back to the signpost, shall we? We'll find our way to the farming district, and you're going to see that we were right next to it anyway there. So heading up here along this custom path, you got a cart on it right now, it kind of gets in your way. Around this loop here, up the side, through this tunnel we're coming up to, and this leads you to the farming district, which is right next to this area here. So we're probably going to continue on here and then have the farming district start somewhere here. And this pathway here already has its ending point. This pathway ends down at the docks. Now the very small bits like this field here that I need to detail up. This pathway is actually probably the most complete of all of them. You go all the way down here, everything is detailed up, everything's got trees in, and this is where it ends. But the ending of this pathway is actually almost completed. So you can double back quickly and you'll find yourself in the cove like this. You'll find yourself Pokey Pete, that I've of course named everyone around here, and of course a very good friend of the show's top suggestion, the llamas Benny, and I've added him a friend Lenny. Benny and Lenny, the pirate llamas. And then up here you got this tiny area here, and this is where this whole thing's going to end. I'm going to build this up, and this is going to be, originally I said black market, but I'm just having other thoughts about this area here. But then you detail up here, and this area, this little pathway, as I'm calling them now, reaches its natural end. It's only a little small subset of the docks. Ooh, Pokey Pete's having a bit of a tantrum over there. Better get out quickly. Ooh, there you go. You don't want to mess with him when he's feeling angry. And then the docks, which I think is the area that could probably, it could definitely use the armor stand the most, I think. The docks are usually pretty active places. You got a lot of life, a lot of people kind of running around the place at docks, packing up barrels and all sorts. So I definitely think this place needs the armor stands the most. But other than that, other than the back of this ship, which I never got around to doing this week, I'm sorry guys. We just need that one big ship in there, which is another project that honestly could take some time. It's one that I might put off. I'm going to kind of continue on from the docks, move on. We've done a lot of work here recently, so I don't want to have, I'm going to wait a bit before I build this giant ship up. I want to make sure it's absolutely beautiful before I get around to it. And that really is everything I've done in the couple of months, coming up to 3 months now I suppose, that I've been doing this project. So let's just head back over here and you get that lovely view I was talking about of the Tradesman's Bridge, kind of over the canyon, trying to avoid the creepers. Look at that. What a lovely view. You get the Iron Price Tavern there with its slight gap that I put in, for viewing pleasure of course. The ships, there's going to be a huge ship here like I keep saying, and I'm really looking forward to having that built up eventually, but I'm just kind of holding off on it for now. And then, what a lovely view. But with that tour concluded, I think it is time to first of all have a bit of a rest, because there was quite a lot of talking, but also it's now the night time. So let's go have a rest, and then I think I want to go crazy on adding in all these armor stands. Right, it has been some time, and I have got myself a collection of armor stands, all with fancy little armor, dyed up to fit the color scheme of the area, right? I kind of just went for the boring old greys, browns, blacks, a couple of reds and purples in there, just to kind of fit the gothic feel of the place. That's the idea. And I even had to go out and do another raid, as you can see by the Hero of the Village debuff. I call it a debuff again. It's a buff. Hero of the Village buff I've got on me there. And that's just so I could finish off getting these Pillager skulls, or heads, and these Vindicator and Evoker ones that I've got around the back here. And now, I'm gonna go around the place and bring life to the whole world by adding these armor stands in across the build. Alright, I'm going to show you where every single one of them's going. Let's start with number 1, who's just going to pointing up at the crane over here. Number 2, with some shears, chopping away some leaves from the freshly cut down tree. Number 3, someone responsible for cutting down all those trees, having a bit of a break, resting up against the log, and having a chat with number 5, who is doing the same thing. He's just put his axe down and he's having a little chat. Number 5, I'm pretty sure, although I think I said the last one wrong and now I'm getting confused with what order I've done these in, is just having a little point at the armor and wishing for an upgrade from a Theonomir. Number 6 is by the fountain looking for love. And number 7 is a keeper. There's someone out there for everyone, I promise. Number 8 is hoping to hit the mark, caught in a midway action shot. What do you think? You think he's got it? I don't know. We'll never find out. It's completely inanimate. Moving on, number 9 is being picky about his choice in tool. He just can't decide if he wants the shovel or the pickaxe. We're halfway through our people, and number 10 is just taking a stroll up some stairs to nowhere. Number 11 here seems desperate to tell this guard something, but he seems distracted. Hopefully it isn't urgent. Number 12 has done so much shopping he needs a cart for it. I wonder what he bought. Moving on. Lucky number 13 has decided it is time we finally went down to the docks. Number 14 is helping pull the nets in after a hard day's fishing. Number 15 is going about emptying the cart of melons, and number 16 up here is helping him out. Number 17 is examining shells at the shell store. Are you going to pay for that? Number 18 desperately needs help carrying this fish crate thing. Will anyone help him out? Number 19 has gone fishing. I bet that subverted your expectations. Luckily, it's number 20 to the rescue. He's also just played a pick up 4 card on me, which means I've got to go pick up 4 more people because I underestimated quite how many people I wanted in this place. Number 21 is having some bread for lunch and just sitting on a crate admiring the crow's nest. And everyone's begging the question because of this. What time of day actually is it in this snapshot of the world I've made? Number 21 is just making use of the gangplank and leaving the crow's nest. All the way on the other side of the town, number 23 is picking out banners for his home, which I don't have any of. There's actually a severe lack of homes for how many people are here. Oh well. And finally, number 24 is looking a bit lost. He's consulting the sign to see which way he should be going. That was a lot of S. That's assonance, I believe the word is, if you are looking to learn something today. But that is all the armor stands I'm putting in today, mainly because I've run out of Pillager, Evoker, and Vindicator heads, and those things are actually quite hard to get, because doing raids is actually quite painful even for me. I do keep dying, if you're wondering why I keep losing levels, they are mainly the reason. I'm dying in raids, but that is the majority of the armor stands I wanted to get in. Everywhere is looking a bit more active. Ow, that hurt. I do actually have my sound turned off because I was listening to a podcast while doing that. There you go. Alright, everywhere's looking a bit more lively, especially the docks. I love the ones down here. These guys here. This guy sitting having a lunch, and the 2 over there. Ugh, everywhere's looking good, but we're going to be moving on from armor stands right now. And we're going to be moving on to this area up here. I think it's finally time for us to figure out what we're doing up here. We've got about 3 different routes. This route, that route back there, and this one up here, all leading to this one kind of central area by the market. So it's got to be something fairly impressive. And like I said, the idea of what I'm building here is something I came up with embarrassingly late, considering it's like the pinnacle of Gothic buildings. It is, of course, a church or cathedral, depending on the size. I mean, it's going to be no longer than the distance between this staircase all the way along here, and just about as wide as this wall along here. So, it's going to be a perfect fit, I think. And like I said, because this is something I've only recently come up with, I do not have the blueprints for this. I've only got the vision of what I want it to look like. So this could take me a while to sort it all out, especially considering I've got to figure out this is on a different level to that staircase there, and I've got it merged in with this area here to make it kind of feel unnatural, because the cathedral isn't going to take up this whole area, but that is what I'm going to be working on first. So I think I'm going to jump into a time lapse and you're about to see my entire Sunday fly before your eyes. Let's go. Now, look at that. I couldn't imagine a better way to spend an entirety of a Sunday. And that is right, you did just see my entire Sunday fly by, but if this is the result, I would do this every week. Look at that thing. It's gorgeous. I love it so much. Oh, I love the clock tower face on it. I wasn't sure about that originally, but now, I can't imagine it without it. I love these little bushes. I love the stained glass windows. I had a little crack in interior, but, this is still a bit of a work in progress, but, it's a standard church interior. It's a bit smaller than I wanted in here. I mean, can you imagine? At one point, I was calling this thing a cathedral. After looking up pictures of cathedrals and churches, I realised that I probably was being a bit ambitious when I said that I was going to build a cathedral here. But for the space I've got, this is just an awesome little church. Oh, I love it so much. It is just exactly what this area needed. If I go down here, like if you come down here to the market, it's kind of looming over there in its perfect gothicness state. I love it. You can see it poking through the trees if you head back over Tradesman's Bridge to the smithing district. So you'll be smithing away. Man, I wonder what the time is. If only there was a awesome clock tower just right over there. Oh wait, there it is. You can't see it from the pathway up, but that's alright. It's kind of a little hidden gem. It's hidden just perfectly behind the woodman's clearing, but I quite like that. And then, this is probably my favourite bit yet. If you go up around here, I have a special spot where I've had this spot in my head ever since I started building the cliffs around the place that I always went to kind of get an overview of the whole area at once. I'm really hoping I can find a way to build a little balcony or something off the castle at this exact spot. Kind of because, I really like the little spot. It's a little 2x2 that I can always find. Here it is. This 2x2 of blocks. I always stand right here and I take in the view. And I mean, it really grabs your attention, this thing. It is just exactly what the place needed. I love it so much. It is gorgeous. Now, I did kind of build up the area around it as well. Let me just head back over to it. You can kind of head up this staircase here, walk past it, kind of have a little view in at whatever's happening inside. Head back down these stairs, and you're in this area here. Apparently it snowed since I built it. which is a bit annoying because I haven't got any like string in place for that yet. And I also had a creeper blow up this, but we're not going to say anything about that, are we? I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to put here, but it's definitely going to be something. And then you can go down this pathway here, and you're back on the road to the docks. And then I'm probably going to have a bunch of trees here. That's the plan, at least. That's the plan. But I'm not going to be doing any of that this episode because, especially considering we had a 15-minute recap at the start of it, I think it's probably gone on long enough. So I'm going to toot my horn one last time and say this church is beautiful. And then I'm going to round off the episode there. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. And, as always, I will see you this time next week. Bye-bye.